Today we'll be taking a look at Escoffier's signature weapon, Symphonist of Synths. It's an interesting name. We'll be maxing it, as in level 90, and seeing if anyone else can use it. First, of course, as usual, gotta actually raise it. At the time of recording, it's Sunday, so everything should be open. But looking at the amount of materials we have, it's very possible we need actually 0 farming today, which would be insane. That might be a first for a weapon video. There's the second star anyway, level 50, third star, 60, fourth star, 70, fifth star, 80. Whew, look at that. I think we at least have to go to the crafting station. Something. I didn't prepare at all. I just had those materials apparently. Got some purples from our blues, and now we're going to get the golds we need, and some like crab material as well. We'll see here. We're just going to make like, I don't know, 66 of those should be fine. Yep. There we go. Should be max now. Max level reached. Let's go. But yeah, before we dive deeper into the weapon, I do want to give a big thanks to today's video sponsor, Tower of Fantasy. Tower of Fantasy just released their massive 5.0 update featuring a brand new world Kylo, a new character Linsis, and some new gameplay features. Taking a look at the new character, she looks pretty insane. Her skateboard weapon looks really cool, very colorful. Her combat looks super fast-paced and vibrant, which I really like. Her skateboard also has some great mobility, allowing you to move faster and even climb walls or mountains quickly. She also happens to be a streamer, kinda almost like what I do sometimes, except also very different at the same time. I just got to the new map, so I haven't explored much, but it's definitely very like spacey. Gives me like new planet we're just starting to inhabit sort of vibes. Here we can alter the gravity. That's pretty sick. So we're just like floating about. I'm sure there's going to be lots of interesting puzzles and other interactive things that use this feature. Since Tower of Fantasy came out, it has definitely evolved. For those that don't know, Perfect World Games has taken over publishing from Level Infinite, which has improved the communication between dev and player. We got mecha gameplay where you can pilot a mecha in space, customize it with painting, and even fight other mechas in mecha combat. There's a training challenge for the Kylo mecha driving, where you can test your piloting precision. With the release of this update, they're giving out tons of free rewards, like up to 139 pulls and 4 SSR weapons by participating in their various events. So don't miss out on those. That is actually crazy. So yeah, if you want to check out Tower of Fantasy's new update with its massive, cool looking map, new character, and tons of free rewards, I'll have that link in the description down below. And now back to the video. Looking at the base stats, it is right down the middle. We got the 608 base and 66 crit damage, not heavily favored in one way or the other, which of course is good in Escoffier's case as she likes both base attack and crit damage. Although I guess depending on your priorities, maybe more base attack would have been better. But yeah, it's going to be a great weapon for her personal damage, of course. Taking a look at the passive, it's actually an incredible support weapon, but also pretty solid for her personal damage. Attack increased by 12%, period, no requirements, and then another 12% attack if the character is off field. And the last parts where the good support stuff comes in, basically 32% attack buff, which is pretty big for just a weapon passive. The unfortunate thing is the character holding it needs to heal the person that gets the attack buff. So that's, you know, already very niche, especially because the buff only lasts 3 seconds. Obviously in Escoffier's case, you can keep that quite consistently with her burst and her passive that ticks healing, at least to the on-field character, plus Escoffier herself attack buff because the healer also gets this buff. So the weapon passive alone gives Escoffier 56 attack. That's huge. I would go out on a limb and say it's her best weapon. Obviously it's her signature. It's usually almost always the best for the character it's made for, but I would feel like even her second best weapon is probably, you know, still far away from this, especially considering she buffs the main DPS as well. At this point, I would usually test it to make sure I understand everything correctly, but it seems to be pretty straightforward. We'll take it out on field and see if we can see some like stack effects though. So let's just like take Nuvalet for example here. Look at his attack. It's 1391. Obviously doesn't matter for him. He doesn't scale with attack, but just for the sake of the test here, we're going to do her burst, which does do a team-wide heal. And then we'll go to Nuvalet, which is not healing, but we do have some lemon slices surrounding him, so I assume that's the stack there. We do indeed have more attack. However, because I don't usually pay attention to those little details, to make 100% sure, we're just going to give her like this level 1 Favonius. Do her burst again. Wait, we still have the lemon slices. Oh no. We are not getting an attack buff anymore for Nuvalet, so, you know, it's at least working, but yeah, the lemon slices are something else entirely. I guess that's the visual effect for Rehab Diet. Kind of makes sense, because it's like a lemon, you know. If you go on like a lemon diet, you probably will lose weight, just like only eating lemons, you know, because you probably won't want to. It's not advice. Don't do that. You're going to be missing out on like nutrients. It would be cool to see if there was like some effect though. Like it's not the lemons. Maybe those little things floating up? They are on Nouvelette as well, now that he got healed. Yeah, they disappeared probably 3 seconds after the lemons did. So it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, I guess. I just wanted to know what visual representation represented the buff. And they're pretty hard to see. Anyway, we figured out it's really good for Escoffier. I do want to take a look at our other polearm users and see if anyone else can use it well. First of all, if you happen to have C6 Zhongli, I just realized that might be kind of insane. He can heal at C6. Would that count? Not so much for his personal damage, but you know, it gives him a way to buff 32% attack. So that's just a thing I guess any C6 Zhongliers watching could think about. Maybe test it and see if his healing does trigger. It says every time the Jade Shield takes damage, which can potentially happen more than once every 3 seconds. So already pretty interesting. I wish I had him C6 so I could actually test it out. I usually like to start with the characters that can fully take advantage of it. And C6 Zhongli might kind of be one of them because he is also off field most of the time though. I mean, I am quite sure he does technically scale with attack. It's just, you know, I think most people build him HP to make a stronger shield. Like at C6, maybe you have like a burst DPS Zhongli. Even being on field, he'd still get like 40% attack. Oh wait, Chevreuse also, damn. I actually was kind of coming into this thinking there wouldn't be that many, but Chevreuse, because yeah, it's not about being a good healer, even though I think Chevreuse is, you know, a decent like supplementary healer. It's just about healing consistently, and I think she does do that. There it is, HP regeneration over time from her E. 12-second healing duration with a 15-second cooldown. She could technically have a 100% uptime on the attack buff. In practice, she probably won't because many rotations are longer than 15 seconds, but still. At C6, there's a team-wide heal after those 12 seconds of E. I am assuming that happens at the same time as the last one from E, so I don't think that would actually increase the duration. I do want to try Chevreuse real quick because I never really paid attention to her healing, especially what the heal does at C6. So we're just going to get, I don't know, Frina in there. She has a lot of HP. Let's go ahead and give her the weapon real quick. I don't think she even needs to hit an enemy, and it's tied to E, so, you know, way easier to even look at this. Let's go to Frina. She is healing. Oh yes, and those same icons are present, so we don't need to go back and check, I suppose. Look at that. Wow, that might be almost more consistent than, yeah, and then there it goes. But look, it's already back off cooldown. We can just go back to Chevreuse. Farina, it can technically have a 100% uptime. We do get the buff indeed, even when she's at full health. Wow, Chevreuse. The only teams I've really used with Chevreuse, even though I'm sure there are more, is the overloaded Raiden teams. But of course this weapon would be insane, 32% attack. Chevreuse, I mean, all the stats are not really wasted on her, but she can do some decent damage, you know? She can really fully use the weapon. Is there anyone else? Damn, it's been so long since I could say that. Like, legitimately, without a loophole. I assume the self-heal from Burst on Arlecchino would count as well, but it's one instance, and so it'd be a 3-second attack buff. So, I do want to try that as well to make sure it counts, because she does kind of have weird mechanics when it comes to her health bar. I should say though, even if she can only have the attack buff for 3 seconds, the rest of the weapon is good for her as well, you know? She scales with attack, gets at least the 12%, plus the base stats are good, so, you know, if you don't have a ton of polearms, this wouldn't be a horrible one for her. We don't need a Bond of Life to heal from her burst, it just will heal less, but she's at full HP. I just want to see if it works. Yep, we do have those icons popping up for 3 seconds. So yeah, you know, since that is her only source of like self-healing, I don't know if it's really worth to consider those 3 seconds, but you can get a couple of, you know, really strong hits off in 3 seconds. It's just, not a huge bonus, but nothing either. Oh, Mika as well. Holy hell, there are so many polearm healers. I didn't even realize that. I mean, I kind of forgot he's even a polearm user, to be honest, because he has a bow. Mika's HP regeneration is also like over time and consistent. It is from his burst with an 18-second cooldown, but it also lasts 15 seconds. Damn, this weapon is actually so much more versatile than I'm used to. Like, there are a lot of characters that can use it to its full potential. I mean, arguable in Mika's case, but he can like provide the 32% attack to his team very consistently. Yao Yao too heals. So many healers in the polearm category. I just had this thought that, you know, healers were mostly catalyst users, but it might also be that a lot of the polearm healers do more supplementary healing, so they're not really considered healers. But it doesn't need to be good heals, it just needs to be consistent heals. In Yao Yao's case, whenever a radish explodes, it heals the on-field character for 5 seconds, every second. But even then, I'm not sure exactly how consistent it will be, so again, she's not even level 90. And we'll just try pressing E here. So yeah, this dude throws out the white radishes, and then I guess if we touch them, they will explode. And you can see we have the icons now surrounding her. I assume when we're actually in battle, the dude will throw it more towards the enemies and we'll just like naturally run into them. But just doing it like this, we will have the buff very consistently as well. Like we still have it when her E is off cooldown. So yeah, this is crazy. We have so much to talk about. Iansan even via her passive heals. And actually because Iansan scales with attack for her other buffing, the straight up attack on it doesn't go to waste like it does on some of the more support characters. Her healing will be a little inconsistent depending on your team. Like if you are in a triple Natlan character team or with Zealonin because it is tied to doing Night Soul Burst. If you are in a team like that, she can trigger it pretty consistently and it'll make it a lot easier to max out her like attack buff as well. I mean, it's very possible I'm forgetting someone, maybe in someone's constellation somewhere, but I think that might be it for polearm characters that are capable of healing. And my god, it's actually way more than I thought. I think Iansan and Chevrus and C6 Zhongli, if he works how I think he does, would be probably the most interesting, though definitely Yao Yao and Mika, if you just, you know, want them to share that 30% attack, could be interesting as well. You know, if we're just talking about the base stats and, you know, the 12% attack, a good general option for him. Shanling as well, because she'll be off field, so she'll get 24% attack on top of the already good base stats of the weapon. Pretty much the same situation as Emily, a very solid sub DPS that is off field most of the time. And then we have the on fielders like Xiao, Hu Tao, Shogun, which I still think could use the weapon well, just they definitely have better options because for them it is basically just a base stat stick with an extra 12% attack on it. Polearm in general is attack scaling, so it's going to be good for all polearm DPSs, again, probably except for Hu Tao. While again, she does technically scale with attack, she gives herself so much that another 12%, especially because she has very bad base attack, isn't going to do that much. Damn, what a successful weapon video. It's been a while. Not gonna lie, I'm kind of tempted to get another copy. The refinements would go hard as well. 64% attack buff just on a weapon passive. That actually a lot of characters can consistently trigger. We're going to do a little more summoning for Escoffier to get her to C2 before the God mode, and we might try and pick up an extra. Although I don't think I would refine it in this case. I just save it for one of the other supports it could be really good for. What is my Iansan in right now? Yeah, just Favonius, which is admittedly a good support weapon as well, but if we have enough energy, I think she'd actually straight up be better if I gave her this, you know, which is an exclusive 5-star weapon, so it sounds kind of dumb, but it's not, because it's not ever the case, almost. I want to do a little comparison. I mean, I don't think it's going to make a massive difference to my Verissa Plunge team because we have so many insane buffs happening anyway that, you know, an extra 30% attack might not impact so much, but I just want to see anyway for fun. So we are just going to start with the Favonius Lance Iansan and we get like a 346. Like, it's still very good, obviously. 353, 346. So we'll just go ahead and give her this. The only bad thing with Iansan is in such a, you know, fast rotation like that, I'm not sure we're going to get a single heal off before we do the Apex burst because the heal needs to go to Verissa and it has a 2.8 second cooldown. All right, here we go. Boom, boom, 354. That didn't just increase our damage by 1k, did it? We'll try again. 32 attack should do something. That's over 300 extra attack on our Verissa. Can we see this one? 272? I didn't do Xianyun's burst. All right, here we go. Boom, boom. It didn't critical. That's not even my fault. 365. That was the second Apex, which was a 346 earlier. So potentially a 20k increase. And yeah, even though we couldn't do a full rotation, everyone is back to full energy. So like, we don't need Favonius in this team. Okay, here we go, please. 354 again. Dude, that's not right. We're going to give her Favonius back and see what that first one really is, because I guess the 353 was an outlier. All right, here we go. Boom, boom. It didn't critical. How about the second one? 346. That is consistent. And we got like a 360 something. It could be, you know, the problem we were talking about earlier with Iansan healing kind of slowly. And we really don't even get the buff, which is why it's only 1k more. That would actually make sense. I think the 1k extra damage is coming from the fact we are actually maxing out her max attack bonus here with the weapon. Whereas with Favonius, we're very close to maxing it out, which is why there's such a tiny jump there. But with Escoffier's signature, we are maxing it out. I would still like to see the damage buff after we get healed, which I assume is the 360 whatever from her second plunge. It's been a while since I've taken you guys to the editing room, so sure, let's do that, see what's actually happening. This isn't where I usually edit, so it's apparently not very well optimized here, but you know, maybe one day. There we go. I guess another issue is we won't even see a green number pop up because Verissa's already at full health. We actually have to look for those tiny little icons we saw earlier. Even going frame by frame, it's so hard to see, dude. I would think maybe just hurting Verissa before we go in, but Xianya just going to make her full health anyway, like way too fast. So the only thing we could really do is try the same rotation and just stop attacking for a second and observe what's happening. Okay, burst, boom, 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 switch to Verissa. I don't know. I think I just saw them pop up. There's a 372. Obviously, I don't want to sit here and wait until we get healed to do it. But yeah, unfortunately, it looks like in this rotation, at least, Iansan doesn't heal Verissa in time for those first 2 plunges. I am going to try and see how fast we can go while still getting healed once at least. So let's see. Maybe now? 361, that's definitely still more than with the other weapon, so it would be easiest if I just put Iansan right before Verissa, but then Zealonin doesn't work, because yeah, you know, Cinder City. I guess we could do this and then wrap back around to Verissa, but at this point, having to change all this stuff, I'm not sure it's really worth it. I guess I probably have a specific case because I hate doing that. I just want to do boom, 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 and then it ends on the main DPS and they kill everything. But until we God mode Escoffier later this week, I am definitely going to keep her in it because, again, we don't need Favonius. We have enough energy anyway. And on stuff where we can actually get to the second Apex plunge, you know, they should be buffed at least. But yeah, that second plunge also got about 20k damage on it, which, yeah, is pretty damn good. It might not seem like a lot on top of 350k or whatever, but 32% attack is nothing to scoff at. I mean, nothing to scoff at. I'm so sorry. But yeah, honestly, quite pleased with this one. Quite happy that there are actually, you know, several units that can use it. At least there's something to think about. Other characters can use it well, and not just in a, hey, it has decent base stats, so they can use it. They can actually use the passive. That's cool. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Once again, big thanks to Tower of Fantasy for sponsoring this video. Again, link in the description if you want to check that out. But that'll do it for me. Thanks, as always, for watching, and until next time.